Welcome to the Tuesday, November 23rd edition of the Yamhill Leadership Roundtable. And with us today, we'll start from I'll try to go geographically this time. We've got a south to north to west to east. So we've got Senator Arnie Roblin. We have Representative David Gomberg. We have Takesha Wydrow from Sheridan. We have Mayor Kate from Amity. We've got Mayor Scott Hill from the city of McMinnville. And we have Mayor Rick Rogers from the city of Newburgh. I think I did that in the correct directional order. Thank you for joining us today. There's lots of COVID-related information to get out to people, but there's also a lot of happening in our county and the state. And so with that, I'd love to turn it over first to Senator Roblin. Welcome, Senator. It's great to see you. And you have a new fish behind you.
I do, yes. I have moved a lot of the stuff. Well, I have nothing left at my office in the Capitol. So many of these things adorn the walls of my office. And so I have a lot of pictures and other things to change to make my background differently. So yes, so now you have a fish print from a very large fish. So it's exciting to be here. I enjoy these conversations with the community. Thank you for all the listeners that are watching or viewing this Zoom meeting. There are lots of conversations going on right now. The governor imposed, as you know, all these new restrictions. We had a meeting today, which is quarantine, so we can't talk about it till later, but the governor is supposed to be making some announcements here shortly regarding how we're going to move forward after this 2-week pause and why they went through a 2-week pause to get things under control. We have a lot of counties which are seeing fairly large increases, and we have, as you know, day over day been making new records with respect to the number of cases being provided. There's some new information about how we're going to count the tests we're giving, because we have been under tested, it looks like, over the last number of months, and part of that is the way we go about talking about how many tests we've done. So there's some new things that'll be coming out shortly, and I think that information is going to be helpful. But as you know, Orla and a number of other people have raised questions about whether we should have had this closed down at all. As I look at, we had a meeting yesterday with the hospital associations talking about what it means right now to say that our hospitals are under stress. We found out in that meeting that, for example, OHSU had 80 of their nurses and doctors in quarantine yesterday alone. So it's really, the problem is not necessarily PPE right now, though it could be in the future. The issue right now is personnel. Do we have enough nurses and others throughout the state to meet the requirements that are going to come being imposed as the increased rate goes up? We end up with shortly there following hospital increases. And these hospital stays are there for a long time. And so we have some new procedures that seem to help and lower the death rate, but they haven't really done much for getting people out of the hospitals very quickly. So we don't put them on respirators, so respirators are not a problem in Oregon. The issue is, do we have the capacity with respect to the staffing we have right now? And in the past, when we've had these emergencies, there's always been other people that come forward from other states, but all of the states are showing increases. So the likelihood of getting new people, as you may have heard, North Dakota actually basically said, if you're a healthcare provider and you're sick, you have a positive test, but you're asymptomatic, come to work anyway. All of those kinds of things are raising real concerns around the country, and we have to be prepared. The reality is we don't have a lot of capacity in rural areas if we get multiple cases. So we have always relied on Portland and the big hospitals up there. So there's a lot of stuff going on around that one. We do have a legislative days coming up in a couple of weeks in December. The first or the second week of December, the Senate meets with their committees. The following week, the House meets with their committees. There's a lot going on with respect to those committees and how we're going to go forward and move forward. Where the governor has a list of appointments for commissions. We're not sure we're actually going to come in. because recommendations from OHSU and others are that the building itself is not the best suited, and given the restrictions on some of our counties, do we want to bring 100 and some people into the Capitol building when we're telling other people they can't have that big gathering? So we may not do the appointments. Those people who are on those commissions just stay on until their appointment replaces them. So there's no real urgent need for that. There is a conversation, really, I think, pushed by the House Speaker more than the Senate President, about coming in for a special session. If we did that, right now the governor is contemplating whether she would call the kind of catastrophic special session that was set up really for a subduction zone earthquake, but this does meet all the requirements for that. Then we could meet remotely as well. So those conversations continue to go on. And I think they have finally decided, the last I heard anyway, that they aren't going to postpone the beginning of the new session. It'll start in February like it has been doing in the past. It's just how we go about doing that session is still being worked out. And I expect that most of it will be done remotely. How many times a week they will have to come in to a session will be something that's decided later. And I'll let David maybe speak to that because he might have more information than I do. I don't know. And so with regard to meetings, we have a pretty packed meeting for my committee on mental health and another pretty packed committee on natural resources, which I'm also involved in. So we'll continue to follow up and see what's going on there. We had our latest meeting for rural broadband, and I think we're doing a pretty good job of getting stuff out to a lot of different places. Just finished writing a letter for a little community of Triangle Lake to try to help them get better broadband. And I have been heartened by the efforts that a lot of these private companies are making in trying to get to the smallest of our communities. So with that, be glad to answer any questions if anybody has any, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to your constituents in that wonderful county of Yamhill.
Thank you, Senator. And it's been so wonderful having you joining us. Between you and Representative Gomberg, we definitely, at least from my perspective, we get a much fuller sense of what's happening than just our smaller viewpoints in our own communities. So thank you. Are there any other questions, Senator Roblin? Mayor Rogers was very enthusiastically nodding, but maybe he doesn't have one. Okay, well, with that, I would love to turn it over then to Representative Gomberg. Welcome again, and what would you like to share with us?
Well, thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate Senator Roblin's comprehensive overview. I guess all this talk about a special emergency catastrophic session in December when the legislature is planning to convene in February may not seem to make a lot of sense on the surface. Why do we need a special session now when we've got a regular session coming up so quickly? And the answer to that is that there are some immediate needs that need to be addressed, whether it is people that are dealing with evictions or housing, or trying to or landlords that are trying to pay their mortgage. There are issues about COVID and testing. There are certainly some issues about taxation, and opportunities that would expire before the year is over with. And remember that if we go into a regular session in February, that doesn't mean that by March 1st that these measures have all been adopted. They go through a lengthier process in a regular session and then take effect usually 90 days after the session adjourns. So we're not talking about a 2-month lag. We could be talking about an 8-month lag between the activities of a special emergency session and a regular session. So we're in the midst of a freeze, and questions are being asked, and I'll pose 2 of the questions that I've been asking. Senator Roblin's absolutely right. We've been provided with a little background information and an opportunity to raise issues, and I feel comfortable repeating the issues that I raised, but not necessarily the information that we were provided or the questions that other people raised. And my questions have to do with the hospitality industry. And in Yamhill County, we've got a vibrant and robust wine industry, but our tasting rooms have been shut down. And so the question is, what sense does it make that you can stop by a winery and pick up a bottle and take it home and enjoy it with up to 6 people from 2 different families, but you can't do any actual tasting at the winery itself? And what we know is that the spike is being driven by social interactions and social gatherings, that homes are more difficult to control, and that's not a bad thing, but also they're more difficult to keep clean as opposed to public facilities like our wineries that can exercise some social distancing and some sterilization models. So that's one question. I've got the same question about restaurants. Why can you pick up food and take it home and eat it with company, but you can't eat it at the restaurant? So those are some of the questions that are looming. The other one that I raised today has to do with the money that the governor has set aside to help small businesses. And there's been $55 million allocated. And as you know, each county will receive a minimum of $500,000, and then the rest of the money will be dispersed on a per capita basis. And my concern is that many of our small communities, Yamhill County, Lincoln County, Tillamook County in particular, have a vibrant hospitality industry. So I happen to live in a town of 10,000 people, but it has a hospitality infrastructure to support 40 or 50,000 people. So we're going to get the same amount of money in Lincoln City that Eagle Point is going to receive. And that's based on a per capita distribution with a $500,000 floor for each county. And I'm not sure that that is the best approach to trying to deal with trying to sustain and support our small business industry. So it looks like I struck a nerve with Commissioner Cullen, and he just simply hung up on me. I'll pause here and see if anybody has any questions.
So, Representative Patrick, I do have one question. This is Rick from Newburgh. So, in your folks' impressions, whoever was on the call, I know the governor's call yesterday with Dr. Seidninger laid out the new guidelines and framework. I thought I heard him say that was going to be in place through the winter, and I wondered, did anybody else hear that?
Arnie, do you have any insights on that?
I would say that I was listening on that call as well, and I did think that he alluded to the fact that could be a possibility. But my understanding was that it was a possibility for some places. In particular, I think they pushed. Poor Multnomah County gets that conversation a lot because they haven't brought their rates down, but that. I think they're looking really carefully around regionally and county-wise and all those other kind of stuff at what the science would tell them with regard to how all those restrictions will continue. So, yeah. But I did hear that comment. I did hear that comment.
Commissioner Cullen is still offline, so I'll just channel him and say, well, next we're going to turn to the city of McMinnville.
Oh, except that I want to make sure that Mayor Wojtowski from the city of Dayton gets a chance, since I dragged her in, but I have poor internet today.
I'm sorry, I didn't even know you were back with us. I guess you've got audio, but no video.
You do look like, you're like a ghost back there, just a voice. A voice with no face. That's amazing.
Goose ex machinist?
500. 500 more cups. Wait, I'm just going to make this.
All right, am I on? All right. I also kind of have terrible internet, so I'm getting a lot of garble coming through. I really actually appreciated some of that information from our legislators. That was helpful for me and answered some of the questions I had. I wanted to talk briefly. I'll apologize about the background noise. I cleaned out some drawers in my kitchen and we went to drop things off at Goodwill, but in the process bought these little beanie bag things. Anyway, and the kids are fighting over who gets what and having whole family simulations in the back seat. So it's a little loud. Anyway, the city of Dayton is experiencing what I would consider to be a relatively significant outbreak. I think we have about 7% of our population has been infected at this point, which seems really, really high. We had spikes right after Halloween that have been traced to house parties. 5 of my colleagues at the high school or in the school district have been infected. Several of my students asked for extensions on their final projects because they were ill. I've spent my evenings doing prescription runs for community members or dropping off meals. Yesterday, I dropped off 3 frozen turkeys, trying to help support the community through this. So, our community narrative has been like most pretty divided between some saying, good, this is great, we're getting closer to herd immunity, let's just everybody get it. And others saying, this is crazy, sick people are openly hosting pretty significant social events at their home, kind of equivalent to the chicken pox parties of my childhood. And to me, that's pretty concerning, where you're going to have those people perhaps infect people who are more vulnerable or immunocompromised and might not fare as well. So I have a lot of concern about what I'm seeing in my community in terms of that spread, and also some of the ongoing behavior with people who even are already positive, and kind of continuing to go about their daily lives, even while symptomatic, and very often without a mask.
Whoa. Thank you, Mayor. That's very concerning. So thank you for sharing that. My understanding is that North Dakota has the highest state level case count in terms of population to counts. But the city of Dayton's number puts it close to that, based upon my understanding. And just to be clear, for folks who are out there, and people on this call can join in on that, but my understanding is that herd immunity is estimated to be at somewhere around 70% of the population has antibodies to it. But doing the rough math for the United States, that if our case fatality rate is anywhere near what it is right now, at this point, that puts it about 7 million people in the United States who would die from coronavirus.
Casey, I don't know if you can see me. I'm waving my hand too. But the other thing is there's already, of course, a handful of documented secondary infections, and a lot of discussion for how long those antibodies last. So, herd immunity might not come with the first 70%.
Yeah, that's a good reminder. I know people in the category where it appears that they're having essentially flare-ups, the way that you have chronic illness. And those are folks who are immunocompromised already, or have, who have autoimmune diseases that they live with, and they've had multiple flare-ups of some version of the coronavirus. So yeah, it's a good point that we don't actually know as much as we'd all like to know about it. Does anybody have any thoughts or comments or questions for Mayor Wojtowski? I would say that my heart really goes out to your community, Mayor, and I'm also really grateful that you're there. And with that, Mayor Hill, what would you like to share with the community?
Thank you, everyone. And Senator and Representative, thank you for your insights. Being at the state, you have a little more opportunity to be plugged in than sometimes we do at the city and the county level. But we did have the mayor's call yesterday, or the governor's call yesterday, that gave us some insights. Just getting back into town, I can tell you what we've been talking a little bit about is the impact on the economics of our restaurants. And I met with representatives from the Downtown Association yesterday, and we have had a really good workaround with our Dine Out McMinnville program that kept lots of doors open and vibrancy and a safe environment in our downtown area when it came to restaurants. But with the freeze, I'll tell you, we're struggling big time because they're just typically last week, we just have not had the takeout business, and thus many of the restaurants have just closed down completely during this 2-week period. They can't get the kinds of supplies needed, and they don't know how much to get, and there's a lot of waste going on, and so we're finding a really tough decisions being made by many of our downtown restaurants. Those are bigger restaurants that typically have more complexity in the menus that they use and the product that they give out. And I know we talked a little bit about alcohol, not being able to be served with takeout, mixed drinks being able to be made with the takeout orders. That would truly help, but that's a legislative process that needs to go through to allow us to do that. So I know the Downtown Association last week had a situation. If you went downtown last week and you were dining in, then you could put in for a drawing, and it was like a $500 gift card for the downtown area, and that gave a little bit of a little more momentum, but at the same token, it didn't even come close to stimulating the activity downtown. So, from my perspective, the next couple of weeks are going to be critical. I think a few people on this line have shared as, if during this freeze we can contain a little bit our activities and keep our incidences down, I'd really like to see us being able to go from a county to county basis, because I think there's a lot of differentials in the different counties that we have. But as I heard Beth talk about in Dayton, that's a devastating statistic that hits a community, and such a close-knit community. I hope people truly understand that doing the types of things of wearing masks, cleaning your hands, washing your hands, and social distancing, and staying in as much as you can is a proven effective approach. And so I know there's a lot of different thoughts out there, but I'd hate to see McMinnville to have those kind of statistics, because that'd be a lot of people. So those are the few things that I've been able to do over the last couple of weeks, or the last couple of days since I've been back into town, and then next week I'll have more.
All right, that sounds good, Mayor. Thank you. Mayor Cape has a question or comment.
Yeah, Mayor Hill, I was hearing that Damian Lillard Toyota was doing a deal. If a business came in, they would buy like $100 gift cards and then give those out to charities to distribute. Have you heard anything about the success of that initiative that they started? I like that idea, and I'm thinking of approaching that with our city council with any of our remaining COVID relief funds.
Yeah, the emphasis behind that was to stimulate buying local, and I can't tell you the whole situation, but taking some of the advertising dollars and keeping it local and helping the vibrancy of our restaurants. I can tell you that it's been about a month and a half since we've had the grand opening, and one of the big pieces that the Toyota dealership was trying to do is create an experience when you bought a car there. And so you buy a car, and they were looking at putting you up for a night's lodging and giving you a free meal, and working with the lodging industry and the restaurants to be able to do that. So it's just, I think it's I won't call it an expansion, but it is a working off of that premise that giving back to the community. That's what they want to do, and they want, you know, the experience of buying a car there to be one that can be remembered and shared, and others come in. So that's all I know, Michael, on that. Rick?
Yeah, let's see. So I guess actually for all the mayors on the call, you know, as Mayor Hill said, you know, we too in Newburgh are trying to figure out, is there, what can we do locally? Is there something that we can do again like we did? We borrowed obviously the idea from Beth and those folks. And Beth, again, to you guys, anything we can do, I don't know what that would be, but if there's anything at all that we can do, please do not hesitate to reach out. We will do all we can. But I guess my question is are any of you doing, you know, specific initiatives locally now, getting money back out into the community like we've all done in the past?
Well, I see Beth raising her hand.
Yeah, let's go with Mayor Wysowski first.
I'm sorry, I'm trying to get food for my family as well. So we're kind of winding down our Dayton Dollars program. So we used our COVID money to be economic development. We distributed funds to our residents based on family size. And then as they are spent at our local businesses, we are reimbursing them at a 1.5% or not percent, sorry, times, right? 150%. That way it's a little bit more money going to those businesses. So it helps our residents, it helps the businesses as well. So we have that going. And I've been, especially since the announcement of the 2-week freeze, kind of doing a social media blitz to mention specific businesses that are open that night for takeout, trying to just remind people and encourage people to use those services. Obviously that works okay in my small community, much easier than it would if Mayor Hill has to pick one business to feature each night or something like that. But that is a couple things we're doing, and I know our businesses have been incredibly grateful for both of those, for mentioning them frequently on social media, and also for the Dayton Dollars program, where they're getting that 150% of whatever is spent in those dollars in their doors.
And then, thank you. Mayor Hill was going to add something to that.
Well, I can just tell you that just to follow up on our ability to give relief to businesses, we had $200,000, and it was with CARE dollars that had stipulations put around that as we were working with Business Oregon on that. And we were only able to give out approximately $57,000 of assistance, because most of the businesses that qualified got the formula was you can get a certain max from CARE dollars, and many of those had received those earlier on. So we're trying to think very carefully of how to maybe use our 100,000 that we were setting aside and utilizing that. We have done a very quick, I won't say on the back of the napkin, but we've done a mid-year budget review and seen what the effect of COVID is going to be on our city. And there's some significant dollars, but again, CARE dollars are coming in and filling a lot of that in. The biggest area that we were hurt over the summer was in our parks and recreation, because we had to shut all of that down. And that typically is a fairly substantial generation of revenue, but at the same time you can cut the expenses off on that. But we're looking at the end of December, we're estimating about a 1% rise in expenses over revenue. And we feel very comfortable that we've been able to go 6 months and only be down 1% off of the budget. So it gives us an opportunity to look and know that that 100,000 that we were using as a match with Oregon business dollars may be able to be used. And so we're going to be using our stable table to be thinking about ways of doing some of those things, and possibly working with the COG that has those dollars available coming from the state now.
And Mayor Rogers, thank you, Mayor Hill. So the county currently has a community requests kind of budget that we're. I can't remember. You might be on the evaluation committee. Apologies if I can't remember. Don't get it right. But there's 500,000 there that'll be going out to like chambers of commerce, nonprofits, and businesses in specific COVID-related organization or COVID-related expenses. But then, as Representative Gomberg mentioned, there's another round of funding, the 55 million. And we as a county are getting 1.4 million of that. And so what we will likely do is in early December, put up an application on the county website that will have the eligibility criteria, and they'll be really closely tracking what the state has laid out for what they expect it to be used for. And so that's really a relief funding, like emergency and urgent relief funding to affected businesses for the freeze specifically. And then beyond that, we can add other eligibility to that. But so that'll be coming out very soon. Likely the money won't get dispersed, checks cut to people until mid to late December. So that is coming up. The one challenge that probably all the mayors understand here is that the way the Oregon budget law requires us to do things, we actually have to do a supplementary budget in order to be able to spend the money because we didn't obviously put any budgetary authority in our budget in June for any of this money. So it's a weird thing that we can take it in, but we can't actually spend expense authority. You probably know the CARES Act funding ends at the end of the year, and the coronavirus doesn't end at the end of the year. So for our community, our public health response is funded entirely by the federal dollars coming through the Oregon Health Authority. So we don't have those. We will be able to, for a short period of time, fund with general fund dollars that we call our contingency. So our emergency money will be going to that. We don't have enough time. We don't have enough money in this contingency to cover the expenses for too long, though. And that's where the congressional action really needs to come in, is that we can't fund our public health response for very much longer after the first of the year without some significant income from federal dollars. So we will be able to, in December, help out some businesses, actually a fairly significant number of businesses with that 1.4 million. We're not going to be able to replace lost revenue, but we'll be able to keep their lights on and leases covered, hopefully, that kind of thing. But past that, I don't know. So the one question I wanted to ask you before I forgot, and then I will make sure that all the mayors get their voices heard, is one thing that some counties and some cities have been doing in Marion County and Lynn County is when a city hall, for example, needs help, especially around the wildfires, other cities have been sending staff to them. And I want to put this out there, and it's kind of weird, like, hey, we're on the air, but I'm throwing an idea out to you, is that when I got done with my weekly check-in with our county administrator and county council, I realized that at some point we all, as elected officials, may have very bare bones staff because of coronavirus quarantine specifically. You get one case in and people get exposed and they go on quarantine for 14 days. And I wonder whether there may be some consideration for shifting staff around to cover the in-person needs going forward in the county. And that's a weird thought, but it's something that may need to happen. So Okay, and with that kind of sobering thought, okay, Mayor Hill unmuted, but I also want to make sure that Mayor Rogers gets to go next.
I really like that thought, Commissioner, but I think we need to share that among one another. I'm not aware of any situation right now in McMinnville where we've had an outbreak, and I know at Mackwater and Light, we've been following that very carefully and doing everything in our power to make sure that we minimize our contact. But if there are communities that are finding themselves with an increase in positive testing and quarantining, please reach out and give us an opportunity to look at our staffs and see if that's a possibility. Because we talk about mutual aid in so many other areas. This is an area that I think we might be able to take a look at, but you'd need to let us know.
Yeah, absolutely. This will be an ongoing conversation. But, at Yamhill County, somebody brings coronavirus back in from a weekend gathering. It's not an outbreak, but it is an exposure. So, Mayor Rogers.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Thank you for being on the call. And Casey, thank you as always for arranging this, and Beth as well. So a couple of thoughts. I don't know if you all saw the advertisement by the Oregon Health Authority and the Oregonian on Sunday. Pretty poignant with 788 pleas statements. I don't know if you saw that for every death that occurred so far in the state. It was pretty impactful for me. And I think part of that has to do with, we do here in Newburgh, we do a call every other week with community partners as we particularly dealing with the pandemic. And it had been pretty smooth sailing. All of our partners have been doing pretty well until last week. All of a sudden, George Fox had 156 kids quarantined, went from 0 to 156. All of a sudden, Virginia Garcia Health Clinic, which had no cases among its staff, all of a sudden reported cases for the first time. And again, in both instances, it's because, it's not that the protocols work at the place of employment, but as soon as you go away from the protocols, it all goes to heck. So, that's pretty concerning. George Fox actually stopped in-person classes early. They were going to end at Thanksgiving anyway, but they did stop in-person classes earlier than they had originally planned. So, a couple other things. And the reason I asked about the particular local stimulus right now is, I've noticed, at least anecdotally, businesses are closing in Newburgh. And it may or may not be directly related, but I can name at least 4: Midget Motors. Newburgh Bakery was supposed to reopen November 30th. That's highly unlikely. There's a hair salon that closed, and Laser Quick, the copy place out by Fred Meyer, also closed. Now, it may be just coincidental and COVID is an excuse, but I think our residents really need to know that they have a chance to help save a business by shopping local. So again, we have great products in Newburgh, in Yamhill County, in Oregon, that will really, really help. So everybody, please consider that as the holiday season comes upon us. We're doing a program here through the downtown, or through Taste Newburgh, 12 shops of Christmas. Again, the idea of trying to get people into the 12 shops and, hopefully make a purchase or two. So that's, largely, I think, what's going on here. Again, we try to get the word out as much as possible on the city website, social media. I do a weekly video message to the community as well, and put a letter in the graphic today. But again, it's Thanksgiving, it's going to be Christmas, it's going to be New Year's. And Casey, I'm really disappointed when you said that this COVID thing isn't over at the end of the year. I thought once CARES funding was over that it would be over. That's news to me. I'm very disappointed.
Like a miracle, it will disappear, I believe is the quote.
It's gone.
Yeah.
Gone. So anyway, but that's largely what I've got. Oh, and the only other item of news is that we had a city council race so close, you might have noticed, that it was down to 9 votes. 9 votes. So anybody who doesn't think their vote matters, think again. 9 votes. And I think it's going to recount. So there you go. All right. And otherwise, that's all I got. Everybody be safe. Be safe this Thanksgiving.
Yeah, absolutely. Mayor Cape.
I think Independence had a city council race that came down to 1 vote.
Is that right?
And they're in the middle of their recount as well. But
right.
Yeah, 1 vote.
1.
So
Amazing.
And with that, I would turn it over to Mayor Cave.
Going on to other stuff. Yeah, as others have alluded to, I got to listen in on the call that we had with the governor's office that the League of Oregon Cities put together. Quite interesting information there. To me, I guess kind of what I took out of it is it's going to be sobering how I think this is going to play out over the next couple of months. It's and you know, my boss, when they're basing this new guidance on a lot off of the way that Oregon Department of Education set up their guidance, so that there can be a lot of similarity in language that's used and things like that, which I really like. And my boss, he said, you know, the last guidance that came out from ODE didn't really make it any easier for Salem Kaiser schools to get back to in-person learning, right? If anything, it made it more difficult. And as I look at what we're going to be moving to, I would say a lot of the same things. I don't know that it's going to be any easier for economies and businesses and communities to recover and to move forward. But I think that's also indicative of what's happening with the coronavirus, right? That's proving to not be an easy thing for the world to overcome. So I guess I just say that was my main thing, is that it's really sobering. So, and then, you know, I really like what I saw from Damian Lillard Toyota. You know, like I said, looking at something new for our city to do. I really am going to say that with our COVID dollars that we have left, the CARES Act dollars, I think we're less than $5,000 left of that. And, I'm going to propose that, you know, we invite businesses to come in with gift certificates to City Hall, and we use our remaining funds to purchase those gift certificates. You know, Amity Truck and Tractor Repair, hey, you know, offer a $500 gift certificate to somebody who needs some auto repair services, and we'll buy that, and then we'll let either our downtown improvement group or another charity in town work on distributing that out to people that need it. I think that was a great idea that they came up with, and I think it's easily to replicate that in other venues to make it help more people and help your businesses. So I would say that's one thing. Our city administrator who runs our city Facebook page, I think he's done a pretty good job of advertising and trying to get that word out. Hey, here's all our businesses in town, and here's some things that you can do, you know. And again, like Beth said, it's a little bit easier in Amity than McMinnville or Newburgh. We got a few less businesses, but you know, like I went to the Rainflower, the flower shop in town, and I purchased a table setting for our Thanksgiving dinner. You know, some simple things like that. Of course, Blue Raven pie. You got to have your pumpkin pie for Thanksgiving dinner, right? So that was an easy choice for me too. So, but I think those are just some of the things that we're trying to do to really focus on local, right, and support our businesses that we do have, and hopefully some things will provide some more positivity in our neighborhood as we move forward. And then also, a little side note I thought I would mention, if you are so inclined, next Monday, the 30th, on Coin 6 News at 7:30 or 7:40 in the morning, if anybody's up at that time, I'm going to be on there doing helping to try and promote our December 4th tree lighting parade ceremony with Santa. So trying to get the word out there. I really like what our group has done, and to come up with a plan that follows all the COVID guidelines to still do our parade and tree lighting ceremony. I think it's a really good example of what can be done still, and to do it the right way. So hopefully we can get some people to step out of their homes and wave as Santa kind of goes by on the fire truck, and then we're having the firefighters hand out some goodie bags to any kids that are out there, and then a brief stop at the community center where I'll turn on the lights on the tree there, and then Santa will continue on his parade around town. So just some good things there. And so anyhow, that's I think I'll leave it at that unless anybody has questions.
That's great, Mayor. Questions? All right, thank you. And I'm super excited about this Santa parade, and the tree lighting. Thank you. And Takesha Rydro, what would you like to share with members of the West Valley and the people here?
First, I wanted to mention that I really loved what Encore Home Furnishings is doing. They, I think, posted up last week that they were supporting all the restaurants in town, and they're going to be buying takeout lunches for all their employees for the next few weeks. So they got a bunch of recommendations. I'm looking at it now. There's 90 shares on that, and every day they highlight that place that they're getting the food from, take cute pictures, and put up information about that restaurant. And I thought that was a super great way to use their base and help their fellow businesses in town. I thought that was really cute. So I just wanted to let the people of Sheridan, Willamina know that we are still planning some holiday things. I know both parades were canceled and some of our usual stuff was canceled, but from the Sheridan West Valley Volunteer Firefighters, they are doing a Santa thing on the 12th at the West Valley Fire Station. It's like a drive-through where you can see Santa and get, I think, a candy cane, and also they're taking donations. So there'll be some kind of Santa, and then Sheridan Rotary and Sheridan Chamber and Revitalization are working on a tree lighting. I think that is on the 4th of December, and possibly getting a list of doing a contest for decorations and getting a list of all of the houses that are really nicely decorated, and so that kids can go around with their parents and drive around and see them, and maybe get a hot cocoa from the local coffee cart, that kind of thing. So there's going to be a list in the paper, in the bulletin board, I believe relatively soon, a spread of all what's going on. So there is going to be something, it's just going to be modified so that it's safe. And on a personal note, just as an idea, because I've got kids and it's tough staying indoors and not being able to do the usual activities. We've been doing a lot of hiking, and I know it's cold, so I was just thinking, invest in some long johns and go take your dog out or your kids out and go hiking or walking. And we're lucky we live in Oregon. There's lots of beautiful places to do that. That's it for me.
Awesome. Thanks, Takesha. And yes, in fact, this weekend, our family was at the Abbey. So Trappist Abbey on Abbey Road, north of Lafayette. And there were a lot of people there, all of us suitably spaced apart. And then the kids and I went mushroom hunting up on public lands off of High Heaven Road. Also amazing. You can really spread out once you get into the Coast Range. So I heartily second Takesha's comments about getting out into the world right now. And there's lots of target hunting or target practice out there too, but don't be scared. Just be wise. Unless you're the one doing the target practice, and then be wise. And welcome, Councillor Menke. I just wanted to acknowledge, is there anything you'd like to add or share with the community?
just be aware that Visit McMinnville and this Downtown Association have been working together, and they're coming up with a whole program that we'll be probably using into the future as far as signage and things like that. It's got kind of a Pennsylvania Dutch type of look to it. It's going to be really cute. They're also encouraging purchase locally, a number of stores, and I think you can look on the Visit McMinnville website and see different things that you could purchase locally to help. So just be aware that we're also going to be putting a kiosk somewhere on 3rd Street, somewhere near Twist Salon, I think, and that will give some directions around town and some things that are going on. So be aware that those things are happening as we move towards the end of the year. And wear a mask, keep your distance, and wash your hands.
So she read the email. All right, are there any last thoughts and comments for people?
Yeah,
Mayor
I
Rogers.
just have one, and I say this often, so if you've heard me say it before, I apologize. But to sort of echo what Takesha said and what Casey said here too, is I'm hearing from a lot of people that with this COVID business, they're actually working more than they ever did. It seems that they're constantly plugged into these calls, these meetings, and people are just working like dogs. So really, honestly, for all you out there, again, listen to that advice. Take some time for yourselves. Really, take it easy. The holidays for a lot of people can be very challenging. So just take some time for yourself. So there you are.
Awesome. Okay, so thank you, Mayor. And before we close out, I wanted to, in inspiration to Takesha's comment about going hiking, can you tell I'm just going to go around real quickly, or you can. How about I'll start with Takesha. What's your favorite place to go with your kids?
I like Erratic Rock, up that, and then Basket Slough, the hike there. And we also have been going to Salem has the new bridge and that really gorgeous walk there, and that's really easy to social distance on that walk, and that's a really nice long walk if you like that.
Nice, thank you. For me, I would say any of the Willamette River Greenway parks are among my favorite places, kind of any time of year. But Spring Valley, which is right across from Western Christian, is so fun for mountain biking specifically. So, Senator Roblin, what's your favorite place to be outside?
Any one of the beaches down here on the coast. So I tend to spend time at the beach, and it's a great place, and the storms of the winter make it even more exciting. So come visit the beaches and take a walk on a beach.
Growing up, Rhodes End was my favorite place. But Mayor Hill, what's your favorite?
I have to say the coast also, whether it be on the beach or up in the mountains overlooking the cliffs and the beach, are the favorite place that my wife and I like to go.
Okay.
Well, my favorite place to go is any Beaver sporting event, right? So Reser Stadium, Gill Coliseum, Goss Stadium are three of my highlights, and since it is the game this week and on Friday, go Beavs! But since they're not letting us in there right now and all that kind of stuff, makes it a little bit more difficult. But I've been enjoying taking my daughter out and teaching her to drive her car since she just got her driver's license. And so I guess I'd say that.
Perfect. Mayor Rogers.
Following a little bit on Mayor Cape, any disc golf course in the state is a favorite place of mine. So anywhere there. And Mayor Cape, on that, I'll say go Ducks. And in fact, I'll bet you one of those blue ribbon, those pies of yours, I'll bet you one of those pumpkin pies on the outcome of the game. All right? All right.
All right, moving on. Councilor Menke, what's your favorite place outside?
Where I regularly walk in the West Hills. It's very pretty, and if you aren't looking at the green, you can always look at all the construction that's going on.
It's a good point. There's a lot of it out there. I'm not sure if Mayor Wachowski is still with us, but her favorite place is probably not the same place as Mayor Cape.
Yeah, that's for sure. Thank you, Commissioner.
Maybe she's not still with us, or maybe she cannot talk right now.
Commissioner, can you hear me?
Thank you, Mayor.
This is Mayor Wachowski. I would also vote for the coast. Thank you.
Hey, Casey, I just have one other thing to say. If there's anything we can do for your broadband connection, yours and Beth's, it would be something we could think about, just something.
Thank you, Mayor. My issue is that I'm trying to grocery shop while I'm participating in this leadership discussion.
Well, you multitasking.
This is the only way I can make it work.
Absolutely. I am, to like go back in very briefly into the sporting world. I'm excited about the Trailblazers. So I just want to put that out there. Maybe there's nobody here who cares about professional basketball, but I am so excited. All right. Maybe.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you. I'm all in on the Blazers. I'm with you. I agree.
Okay. Whew. I was like, I'm left hanging here. All right. Thank you all for indulging me in that.
And now that our soccer team has lost, I guess I'm now rooting for the Sounders, which from my old town. But let's see what goes on with professional soccer as well.
Yeah, I would have a hard time cheering for that team from up north.
Absolutely.
I'd have a hard time.
Thank you for that. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. To all the folks, have a really safe Thanksgiving weekend ahead, and keep your distance from people. We've got a lot of cases in our county, and they're going up pretty rapidly. But we can take care of this. We can do it. We've done it before, and we can do it. And Lincoln County is a great example of a community that's really cut their case counts. So let's do it together. All right, we will see you next week, and we're going to talk about homelessness and housing.